Hello, everyone. Welcome to Life Boost here. My name is Ryan Barrio, and I would like to thank you guys all for coming onto my podcasting channel. I'm available to listen to on over 10 social media platforms and 35 different podcasting channels. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Jonny Tello here. He has an overall fighting record of 79 wins and 17 losses. He's a professional fighter currently in Thailand, and he's in the Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship in Thailand, and he has a big fight coming up on December 18th with Sinsamut Sor Klinmee, and it's going to be a big fight for him coming up. And he won his last fight with Mr. Jean-Pierre, and he had a classic knockout in that situation, and he was highly successful. It is a pleasure to have him on my podcast to really gain insight and material about his lifestyle and to really find out more about him. Welcome to my show, Jonny. I'm doing good. I'm really excited to learn more about your lifestyle and to really understand what you do on a daily basis to become a professional athlete. Let's start off with your childhood. What made you want to get into fighting?
I was bullied a lot as a kid, like a lot. So I tend to defend myself after a little while, and it was kind of a cycle. Actually, I got kicked out of elementary school when I was in the fourth grade. So for something to do with bullying and then me attacking the guy, and then they kicked me out. And then I moved to another city, and then the whole cycle kind of continued. And one day I came home with a black guy from actually my neighbor after baseball practice. And my dad was like, you know what, I've had enough. You got to learn to defend yourself properly. So at the time, my sister, her best friend, her father was this guy. His name is Kevin Hurley, and he was a boxing coach at this place called Brampton Boxing Club in Brampton, just a city outside of Toronto. And he told my dad about it, or my dad talked to him about it, and then he said, "Yeah, bring him in." I walked into the boxing gym that day, and I never left. Yeah.
And when you were with Legends MMA, what did you learn there throughout your childhood, and what made you want to take it to the next level?
When I was in Legends MMA, I joined Legends when I was about 21 or so, like that. That was because at the time I've been boxing since I was 12 years old. That's when I joined. I think I just turned 12, and so I tried to go to the Pan Am Games, and I got my ass kicked pretty good one time. And after that, I was like, whoa, okay. So I used to pride myself because of my childhood that, like, even if I lost a boxing fight, it was just like off points, I never got knocked down like that. And I said, if it was a real fight, I'd still kick their ass, because I didn't really lose that fight. But that fight, what I was talking to you about, I got my ass kicked. So they gave me like 5-8 counts. I was helpless. I didn't have a broken hand, but that wasn't even the excuse of it. I was just not that good as I thought I was, because I was winning so many fights in a row. So I said, I should learn other disciplines to prevent any situation in case I had to fight somebody on the streets, because at the time where I grew up was really rough. So it was kind of a constant thing that I always had to do. So I joined this guy named Master Ruben. He's like a 10th degree black belt in 5 different martial arts. And I started learning karate, aikido, kung fu, a whole bunch of stuff with him. And then one day he takes me to another gym to spar, Legends MMA, that he was joining. And I went there and I stayed there ever since. And then since there, the coach there, Billy Stromanowski, he's like my best friend. And he actually saved my life big time, a couple of times. So, what I learned there was just pretty much like the principles of kickboxing in general, because he was like a world champion K1 kickboxer, which is just kickboxing with no Muay Thai. The difference between kickboxing and Muay Thai is that Muay Thai you can clinch, so grab by the neck and then knee and also elbow, but in K1 you can't. So yeah, and then eventually I came to Thailand and learned Muay Thai for real.
And what made you want to travel across the world? Was it just to pursue your dreams within becoming a professional fighter and pursuing that?
During my whole fight career, about 2015, at that time I was doing doing MMA, and I had a pretty good record, and I was actually scouted by UFC scouts, and I had a big fight planned. If I won, I'd go to a place in Calgary, fight for Hard Knocks, which was like a UFC feeder division. And before I had the opportunity, I got bottled in the face, and I got half my nose cut off and reattached. And that took me out for 4 years. And after a lot of, mental preparation to get myself into a state where I could function properly as a human being, or even pursue, because at the time I was told I could never fight again because of the surgery they did on me. And I believed it for a little bit, and then eventually I just couldn't deal with I just said, you know what, I had enough. I can do this. So I started training again, and then when I wanted to fight again, I realized that if I stayed in Canada, it was impossible, because it takes so long for you to get fights because of professional medicals, and you have to take a CT scan, MRI, all this other stuff. So I was like, fuck, I need to play catch up. So I'm going to go somewhere where there are no rules. So I went to Thailand. There's no commission, no sanctioning body, where you do whatever the hell you want to do. So I can fight here every single day if I wanted to. So then I moved to Thailand to pursue my dream in fighting so I could play catch up in my record. And it's been here 2 years now that I've been here. A little more, actually.
Very interesting. And during those 4 years when you had issues getting back into the fighting world, like what did you have to do for yourself mentally in order to get over it? And what strategies did you do to be successful?
Well, there's an expression that they have, say anything but the face, So when that happened, now it looks much better. It's not too bad. Plus it's normal now for me. But at the time it was a lot worse, and I thought it was the end of my life. I thought it was the end of everything. And I played victim for a little while, and I had to recover from that mental state, depression, alcoholism, did some rowdy stuff to get out of my situation. And it was just a big mind, excuse my language, I'm not going to swear, but a big mind fudge, So I had to really get myself out of a serious state of depression. And then once I finally came into realization that, you can't let this control your life, and you have to, just be a man about shit and just get up and pull your pants up and do what you got to do, then everything changed. Then I started taking control of my life again. And, that led me to this place here where I'm fighting for BKFC, and I'm the only Canadian on the card, one of the few Canadians on the whole BKFC roster.
Which is amazing, right? And you're actually representing Canada in that type of way, right? And you're able to turn one negative part of your lifestyle into something positive, and you were able to transition that by not playing the victim card. You were able to get up and be able to fight for what you actually love doing, and you didn't listen to anyone, which was the biggest thing, right? Because a lot of people nowadays will just put you down for anything that you want to do nowadays, right? So it's really good that you were able to find alternative methods for yourself in order to succeed within your career in fighting, right? What was the worst experience that you've had so far during your journey in Thailand as a fighter?
It's been a pretty solid ride, but you can't avoid real life no matter where you go. Doesn't matter if you go to heaven. Oh shit, it's not real life. Sorry. I'm talking about what I'm talking about is no matter where you go and try to escape from, you can't escape reality, So even in a place like this, I came to Thailand to kind of indulge and live my life differently. Things happen. I've had situations where I almost died once in the ocean. I got stranded in the middle of the ocean with a kayak with my girlfriend, and I had to swim for 2 hours while carrying her on the kayak because I couldn't get back on the kayak. I almost went out like Jack from Titanic, and there was box jellyfish everywhere. So that was a whole adventure. Some guy tried to kill me one time for some stupid stuff. Some crazy Thai guy on Thai New Year's. I had a couple of dogs die, unfortunately, here because I adopted. I run a charity program, and I feed a lot of stray dogs in Koh Samui on Island. No, I live in Pattaya. I used to live in Koh Samui, and yeah, I had a couple of dogs die, and like I said, normal life stuff, things that that you can't avoid no matter where you are in Canada, Australia, or Thailand.
Yeah.
Overall, it's been a fun ride. I've enjoyed it mostly. Yeah.
No, and that's like the biggest part, right? Is that throughout your journey, you're going to learn different strategies and methods in order to grow. And with your fight coming up, how do you feel about it? Do you feel mentally ready? Are you ready to do it?
Yeah, man. You know what? I've had, like I said, my record is mainly actually in the amateurs, like in boxing itself. I had 71 wins, 16 losses. But I've had, like I told you before, I grew up in a really rough neighborhood. So, and my life has been, like I said, bullies and stuff like that all my life. So, man, I've been to a lot of fights outside, like more than the average human being by a long run. And in a way, I'm like the walking, talking, real life hitman. In a way.
Yeah.
So many times fought tons of people at once. But, half of it was my fault because I used to be, like I said, stupid drunk. So when you drink all the time, it puts you in situations that you wouldn't have been if you weren't drunk, right? But now I don't drink anymore, so I'm good now. But yeah, so like I said, I've been in a lot of street fights. In high school I was known for that. This is pretty much just a gentleman's street fight. That's all it is. So for me, it's almost not even like a real competition fight. Obviously it is, but it feels a little bit different. It feels like a street fight, and last time I went out there, it was the same thing, same mentality. So for me, I enjoy fighting. Just I train my ass off every day. It's hard, man. It's really, really hard. Sometimes I train from 5 to 8 hours a day, so that's the hard part. The fighting, it's the easy part. It's the fun part,
Yeah. Nobody actually sees behind the scenes, right?
Yeah. So I'm pumped, man. I'm pumped. I haven't fought since March because of the COVID situation. Thailand had a big wave and closed everything. Well, I did have some behind the scene back fights because I was on a TV show called The Underdog that didn't really fall through, but I did fight on that show. But besides that, yeah, like I said, I'm really pumped for this fight. I'm a fighter. That's what I do. So.
Yeah. And if you could go back to the mistakes that you made, what would you recommend someone that was in the same position as you? And if you can coach them throughout the way, what would you recommend them?
Stop worrying about the small things. Small things don't matter. And the older you get, the more you realize all that time you wasted on focusing on all the little nitty shit. It's just turned out to be a whole bunch of time wasted. So don't waste your time. Stop worrying on the things that don't matter. Stop worrying on the things you can't control. Just focus on your goal and keep going. And no matter what, don't give up. Because it doesn't matter if you try 1,000 times and you keep trying, but if you quit once, all those 1,000 times you tried was for nothing. Just a big waste of your time.
Yeah. And with you going through everything as you dealt with substance abuse issues and you've dealt with many different things throughout your lifestyle. How did you manage to stop drinking? How did you manage to stop doing these things to benefit your lifestyle?
By messing up so much in so many ways and so many times that eventually you kind of have to be hey, I was lucky. I had caring parents and good mom, dad. So they kind of took me aside and there was a bunch of situations. I was really, really drunk one time in the middle of winter and I passed out walking from the bar into the snow and woke up in the hospital. I was lucky to be alive. So things like that. Whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, but you just, everyone goes through their stuff. It's up to you to realize when you realize what you're doing is wrong, or going the way you plan. Because my life was going up and then go down and go up and go down, Eventually I realized that hey, if I really want to do this properly, if I really want to be a fighter, professional fighter and be world champion, you can't be drunk. You can't be drinking all the time. You can't be
You got to be that example for other people, right? And
yeah, it's not even about being an example of other people. It's just about being the best person I can be. It has nothing to do with anybody else. For me, being an example for other people is kind of like this whole situation, like with the fight and stuff like that. You know, you can do anything you set your mind to, because I had a lot of obstacles in my way, and I still happened to get to this point. You know, and a lot of people, how many people, how many fighters I grew up with that fought, and how many are in the big leagues or even like in a high level where they're still fighting? Not many, maybe a handful of them. And not a lot, like thousands of people. And the reason why is those handful that are still doing it or doing successfully in an extent are because they didn't quit and everybody else gave up, right? So I think that's the only separation I have between me and everybody else in that regard.
Very interesting. And when you're in the ring and you're having these battles between your mind and the opponent, what is something that keeps you motivated to keep staying up? If that makes sense.
Yeah. Honestly, I just have too much pride. I have all the people watching me, and I ain't going down for nobody, and I ain't looking like I ain't looking like a chump, you know? So it's the only thing that keeps me like never going. See, I've never gone down in a fight. Well, I have one time when I lost, but like got hit in the body, for example, really hard, you know, and even in sparring, I've never gone down. And the reason why is just because like people are watching. And I have too much pride. That's pretty much it. Just the pride. That's what makes me not quit. Yeah. As shallow as that sounds.
No, and it makes sense, right? You got to have the pride and the confidence to be able to do all these things, right? It is a very difficult stage that you are at. You're not at an amateur level anymore. You're at a pro level. And like you said, with the pro bare knuckle boxing, it's pretty much a street fight, right? And it's on TV, and, you know, it's a big deal. And it's really amazing to see the accomplishments from when I met you many years ago to now, where you're now transitioning into something beautiful. You're in a very great situation. And it's nice to see you be able to be in your element and live your dreams, which that's a big thing that people don't have the privilege of doing all the time, right? So it is really nice to see you in that position, right?
Yeah, thanks, No, I said thanks. I'm still chasing the dream, but yeah.
Keep chasing, right? But you're doing a really good job, man. And it's amazing what you have already done. What is some techniques or some tips that you would give to people that want to start off in mixed martial arts or in fighting, and people that want to learn how to defend themselves?
I don't know. It's a complicated question. I would say if you're starting off fighting and you're trying to become better as a fighter, to stick to the basics and improve on the basics, and then you'll get improved as a fighter. So it's not about learning a spinning back kick or, you know, like a fucking flying head kick or, Superman punch. It's not about that. It's about learning the principles of fighting, which is balance, range, footwork, things like that. Understanding the science of it, right? Because range is the most important thing in fighting, in my opinion, and then balance. But without range, it doesn't matter how fast and how strong you are, you're never going to be accurate because you don't know how far you are from a person to hit them every time you throw. And at the same time, you don't know how close you are to the person where the person can hit you and you get hit. So once you understand that you're right at the right space where they throw and you're right away, and the same time when you're right in the right space where you throw and you at least hit their gloves or hands or whatever, then you get real good. You get much, much better. Also balance, because if you have good balance, then you can follow up on your punches. And also when you throw a punch, you can also get away after, because if you don't have balance, then you throw a punch, you'll overreach or you fall off balance and the guy can punch you back and you won't have enough time to move yourself back or get out of the way of the punch, or crossing your feet and stuff like that, where you're walking left or you're walking right, because it puts you off balance and things like that. That's what I'm saying, is that if you're going to start martial arts and you're trying to improve in sparring and trying to improve in your fighting, it's the basics that'll make you better, not the other stuff.
No, and it's good to know, right? It's for people that really want to try to learn how to defend themselves. And then sometimes some people go overboard and don't realize that, you know, the basics is the key to really be successful within it. Right. And within your regiment that you currently do, what is something that you say that helps you get motivated within your fight that's different from the average fighter?
You know what? For me, like, motivation is like been for a long time, the necessity of what I need to do. Like, it's like, if I don't do this, I have this, and it's shit. And if I do this, it's not shit. So I'm like, what do I want? You know, I don't want to eat shit every day. I want to eat something good. So that is part of my motivation. The other, like, I would say, if I need to like channel, like internal motivation, like to push myself further or to get myself, I kind of like a pessimist, start thinking about all the bad things that I've ever been through. You know, like before a fight, like when I'm warming up, that's what I do. I think about every bad thing that has ever traumatized me in my life. It makes me sad and angry. Not really sad. It makes me angry, you know, and it fuels me inside and it gets me really pissed off. And then I use that negative energy to want to kill somebody. And that person across from me, I take out all my pain and all my anger. Like an artist, I express myself onto that person's face.
Yeah, but obviously not off the ring, but you would want to do it. Like, yeah, like.
So you're asking me for like motivation, like in a fight, right?
100%. Yeah.
That's what I am.
Great.
You know, I'm an athlete, but I'm an artist, you know, and what you see in that ring is an expression of my soul, you know? So sometimes I got a lot of rage in me that I hide away. So at those times I bring it all in, I get pissed off, and then I go into kill, you know, because I don't go into, you know, some fighters have a lot of friends that, you know, like I one time we were in an MMA fight, and the guy, my buddy took him down in an MMA fight, grabbed him by the neck, you know, like on the ground. And he was like this, he's going to punch him in the face. I'm like, hit him. And he's about to, and he stops and he grabs his neck and he goes down with him. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? And after he's like, dude, I feel bad, you know? And I was like, you can't do that and be a fighter. You know, can't be a soldier and feel bad when you kill somebody. You know, obviously you can. That's a lie. But what I'm saying, I'm exaggerating. But as a fighter, you have to be ruthless and you have to be like no mercy. That's how you win your fights. You know, that's how, like, because like you don't know the other person's in there trying to kill you. You know, people die all the time. There's a person that died in BKFC last year or beginning of this year. You know, got uppercut, hit the ground, had a brain aneurysm, and then died. That could be me, you know? So, and that's just saying that, I have to be like, I treat it as life or death in there, you know? That's how I feel that you should every single time, no matter what discipline it is in fighting. Because at the end of the day, you can't die in there. So take it seriously. You know, it's not a joke. You're like, in my opinion, I'm fighting to the death every time, you know? No,
this is incredible advice. And I thank you so much for being able to come onto my podcast and to give me insight and advice about yourself, but also giving us knowledge as to how to be a successful fighter or to be a successful athlete. Like, you know, like you got to have a certain mentality to be in this sport. And like you said, you're an artist in that caliber and you got to really work hard. And there's a lot of things behind the scenes where people don't realize what you're doing. And it's incredible what you've done. And I'm excited to watch your fight on the 18th. And just to let all my viewers know that the fight can be viewed online and the description will be below. And I will put in all of that information. And I'm excited to watch you on December 18th. It's going to be an amazing fight. And your last fight was incredible. So I'm assuming this one's going to be great. So
it's going to be great. Yeah.
Awesome, bro. Well, thank you so much for coming onto my podcast, Jonny, and I wish you the best.
Thanks, Ryan. I wish you the best too, and thanks for having me on, brother.
You too, brother.